Hey, what's up guys, it's AceStarThe3rd, and today I'm going to review you guys an awesome Wi-Fi battle I had against one of my really good friends and rivals, Noitulover. So, I want to warn you guys before we actually get started that this battle might be a little bit exciting because it is a really excellent battle that is going to be really memorable. And you might be on the edge of your seats, so please be sure not to fall off your seats because that'll be kind of dangerous and I don't want you guys to get hurt. So please be safe while watching this video. But anyway, before we get started, I ask you guys to please be sure to go in the description and answer something called that question. It's a question that I ask to get you guys' opinions on things, so please be sure to go down there in the comments and answer it in the comments below, but only answer it if you have the time to. So, if you look at this team, you're probably like, AceStarThe3rd, I think we need to talk because your team is pretty offensive, and I agree with you, my team is pretty offensive. I usually don't have anything like Blaziken or Celebi on my team, but I was figuring like, okay, I have my core there, but usually they have a problem with a couple of Pokemon, namely things like Fortress and Celebi and Skarmory and occasionally Blissey. So I was like, okay, I need to have something that can go ahead and deal with all of those things, and one of the things that does do that really effectively is Blaziken. So I do have a Blaziken with me with the mixed kind of set that it has, but it also has Toxic on it too, because that also helps with bulky waters. I like to switch in onto Blaziken. Salamence is on here too because Salamence likes to late game sweep, and of course sometimes things happen to things like Blaziken because it's so defensive, not defensive at all, so I need Salamence there to take out things like Celebi so I can go ahead and not get walled by it because it really just does a lot of things against my team, especially Celebi itself and the Swampert and Zapdos. So I do hope you guys enjoy this amazing battle. Like I said, I want you guys to please be careful because I don't want you guys to get hurt, and please be sure to stay tuned to the end of the video, and let's go. So apparently a bunch of people are under a consensus that I look like Cookie from Ned's Declassified. I'm like, bitch, you need to calm down because that is not even correct whatsoever. But anyway, he's gonna lead off the Swampert, I'm gonna lead off my Swampert, LOL, right? But either of us, we're gonna switch out into our Celebis. He's the one who went ahead and did that as I go for a Toxic, and then I go ahead and get an awesome status onto the Celebi, which honestly doesn't really matter too much because he has the natural cure ability, and I'm also assuming that he probably has HP Grass. But either or, I mean, at least it's the status that I can get a little bit of damage off of him because of. So I'm going to go out into my Falsetto because either of which he was going to go for a Psychic, or he might have went for an HP Grass, and it just so happens that he happens to have HP Grass. So my Swampert really can't stay in on that Celebi anymore, knowing that piece of information. So I am going to go ahead and go for a Body Slam, predicting him to switch out into a something because he was probably thinking I was going to go for a Shadow Ball. He goes onto a Steel type Fortress, so I'm like, okay, that's fine. I mean, I would have liked to get the Paralyzation onto the Fortress, but I don't get that, but that's fine too. I mean, it would have been nice, but that's okay. Anyway, I'm gonna go out to my Blaziken because I figured he was just going to set up some spikes. I mean, why would he not? I mean, he wouldn't go for an Earthquake that quickly, right? And so he does set up a layer of spikes as I go out into my Blaziken, and then I threaten out the Fortress, and as I predict him to switch out, he goes ahead and gets the Toxic off onto a Swampert, which is also pretty good too. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch back out into Joan Rivers and etc. And I was thinking that, okay, he's probably gonna go for another Spikes as I go out into my Blaziken again, because I was thinking he was just not gonna go for an Earthquake again. Like, why would he go for an Earthquake against Celebi, right? So he's gonna go bring in his Bubbles, which is his Vaporeon. I guess he wasn't predicting a Toxic or anything. I mean, why would I go for a Toxic? I mean, it was a Fortress, so I mean, even if he stayed in, right? So he's gonna go into his Vaporeon. I am gonna get a crit on it, which is okay, but I mean, whatever. I mean, it's wet. So he's gonna go for a Surf because he doesn't want to play any games. He's not messing around. He wants that Blaziken to be dead. He's sick of all this bullcrap. So he's gonna go ahead and go for a Surf, and then I'm gonna go ahead and go into my Falsetto so I can take that. First, I wanted to go for a Body Slam because I wanted him to go into a false sense of security, and then I'm gonna go ahead and then go for the Self-Destruct. Now you're probably like, Ace, why did you go for a Self-Destruct so early in the game? You usually use that late game when you have threats that you can't take out. Okay, I really wanted this thing to be gone because I knew if I did not take it out right now, it would give me tons of issues later on with my Salamence, and I couldn't really sleep with it because that thing most likely had Ice Beam, and I didn't want to go through all that crap. So I was like, okay, well, I might as well just go ahead and take it out now. I'll lose my Snorlax, but other than that, that's really not that much because I still have special defensive Pokemon that can do what it does. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and go into my Swampert as he goes onto his Fortress. I figured I could just went for a Hydro Pump, right? Because I'm like, oh, it's Stab and it's Fortress has some boo-boo special defense. So I thought, and that thing is most likely is special defensive because that Hydro Pump did absolutely nothing. It's like it was 2 base power. I don't know what's going on here, but then he's gonna go ahead and take the opportunity to go out into a Celebi. So I'm like, okay, I need to go. But first, before I go, I'm going to go ahead and go for a Toxic or an Ice Beam, because I knew that you were going to go for a Heal Bug, because you had something on your team that was toxic, namely being your Swampert, because I'm not stupid. So I did go ahead and then get an Ice Beam off. I did predict another turn of him switching in, and that's when I go for another Toxic. This is pretty awesome, because now he's going to be more inclined to switch out, so this Celebi doesn't have to be a problem for my Swampert anymore. So I'm going to go into Blue Mist, because Blue Mist can go ahead and do what it does against the Celebi. He knew I was going to switch, and he goes into a Swampert. Now, I know the Swampert's in here, and I know I have HP Grass, but I know an HP Grass will only do a maximum of about 83%. So I need him to get some damage on him real quick, but I don't know how to do that effectively, because this thing keeps on switching out. But unfortunately, he goes for a Roar as I switch out to my Celebi, thinking that he was going to go for something like his Stab Earthquake or his Stab Hydro Pump, but then he just goes a Roar that switched me right back out into my Blaziken, unfortunately, and then it took a ton of spike damage for absolutely no reason. Now, I was thinking that he was predicting me to have HP Grass, which is why he went for an Earthquake, so I'm like, okay, he's probably assuming that I have it, so I can't really be too reckless now, because if I do, then Noitulover is going to predict the crap out of me. So now he's going to roar me one more time, and he's going to go roar me out into my Zapdos, unfortunately, which sucks, because, I mean, I can't do anything to a Swampert, because the only attacking move that I have is Thunderbolt. This is my Rest Talking Zapdos set, which is really good at supporting, but other than that, it's not really good at anything much else. So I'm going to go ahead and try to predict him to switch out, but it didn't even work out, so it was whatever. I took a lot of damage, but I could just rest it off anyway. So he was going to go for a Rock Slide, which is okay, but, I mean, well, it missed, so it's not like, oh god, it mattered, but still. It wasn't even stabbed. So hey, I'm going to go out into my Celebi, and he's going to go into his Celebi, knowing that my Celebi can't do anything to his Celebi, and it just so happens that he has a Paris Song. So I'm like, okay, this is not that good, because he's going to induce me to switch. And the fact that he keeps on inducing me to switch, plus adding the fact that he has spikes, this dude is trying to make me die to entry hazards. So I'm assuming that he has a Ghost type on his team. I actually know the fact that he has a Ghost type on his team, because there is no reason why he'd be inducing so many switches with having spikes up that he just wouldn't have one. And there we go. He has brought out the Gengar. So I'm like, okay, this is not a problem. I don't really care about Gengar. I need this thing to be gone. Even though I don't have a Rapid Spinner on my team, this thing will go ahead and try to do some really threatening things. So I kind of predicted that to go for something like an attacking move or something. But he goes for Will-O-Wisp. I probably should have just stayed in and go for a Psychic, because I knew it could have KO'd this Gengar and it wouldn't have been a problem anymore. And I would have lost my Celebi, but I mean, to be honest, now that I think about it, I really did not need it that much, because there's not much it was actually doing except, I mean, keep on trying to lead seed the Swampert for it not to work. So I probably should have just probably stacked it, but that's fine. And I know it would have KO'd it because I have Stab and because I have a little bit of special attack investment too. So unfortunately, he roars me out into my stupid Salamence. I was so irritated when I had him, because I did not want him to know that I had that. That was very important for me to keep that thing hidden. And then he goes ahead and knows that it's there now, which kind of takes away the whole surprise factor at 3rd gen. And when people know your team, it's like, wow, okay, well, what's there to do now? So unfortunately, I'm not at that point where I can take him out with an HP Grass, but he is going to switch out anyway, and he's going to go out into his Gengar, and unfortunately, like, I don't know why I was just so reckless right there. I probably should have just went for a Fire Blast, but then again, I don't know. I mean, he could have stayed in, and he could have, I don't know. Either or, it worked out. So I'm predicting him to go for something like a Will-O-Wisp or a Substitute or something, because I know he likes to carry the Substitute Gengar. So I kind of go for a Fire Blast, it didn't work out, and then he goes ahead and goes for an Ice Punch next turn. Doesn't really do that much damage, even though I'm Rash, because Gengar doesn't have any stab this generation, except, well, he does, but not on the special side where he's most effective at, right? So I'm like, okay, maybe I can go ahead and predict that twice, and I do, and I go ahead and take out a Substitute. So I was predicting him to predict that I was going to stay in, and then I go into my Celebi, who can easily take a Thunderbolt. So I'm hoping that he's not going to go ahead and switch out, because he was just thinking he can KO me with the Ice Punch. But then he goes ahead and doesn't do that, and my Psychic is completely ineffective against this stupid Fortress. So I'm like, okay, Fortress, I knew you used to be my favorite Pokemon, and I knew it kind of replaced you with Raikou and Umbreon, and I'm sorry, but there's no reason for you to just come in and keep on walling everything I have. I mean, what the hell is wrong with you? So he was gonna go for a Zap Cannon, and I'm like, oh my lord, that is mine, and I use that, and you stole it from me, and I want my money from suing you because you took my moveset. Who do you think you are? And then I get paralyzed, which sucks. So Now I'm sitting here like, okay, I look dumb as fuck, sitting paralyzed, and I'm like, okay, I need to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch out into my Swampert, and then he goes ahead and goes for an explosion. He basically did what I was doing with his Vaporeon. He was baiting the fact that he didn't have the move to KO him immediately, and then he goes ahead and explodes on me, and I'm like, okay, I need to die, because there's nothing much else I can do here except die. So I then lose Butler GX, which is really unfortunate, because now, man, I don't have anything that has Toxic, which is really kind of unfortunate. Well, except my Blaziken, but then nothing can really do much outside of, you know, threatening walls, so I can't really get the Toxic off anyway. But anyway, he's gonna go on to his Celebi, predicting me to go for a Psychic. He can't really do much to me, I can't really do much to him. But remember the fact that he happens to have the stupid ass Paris song, so I'm like, okay, well, whatever, I'm not even mad right now. But anyway, he's gonna go ahead and go for the Paris song. I'm like, I'm okay with that, because at least my Blaziken gets the opportunity to go for a Blaze boosted Fire Blast, and I know that's going to be doing a lot of damage to whatever switches in, because, I mean, unless he has a Flash Fire Pokemon, I mean, something is going to take a bunch of damage. He's actually going to go out into his Gengar, and he's going to sack it. I don't know why exactly he was so intent on getting this thing, like, sacked, because he could have just sacked his Celebi, which really wasn't going to do much anyway, but whatever. He is going to go into his Celebi, which was the last thing that he was hiding, so I'm like, okay, this is do or die right now, so I need to go ahead and go for a Toxic and hope that he doesn't have Lumberry. So I do go ahead and get off the Toxic as it goes for a Dragon Dance, predicting me to switch out, and I do go ahead and get this thing to be status, and he doesn't have anything like a Lumberry, so I'm good too. Anyway, I have one turn left of being alive, so I'm going to go ahead and switch out into my Askin 14, thinking that he was just going to go ahead and go for an Earthquake or something, but then he goes for a Rock Slide, predicting that. And I'm like, bitch, you know, you think you're cool. You think that you can go ahead and predict me to do things like you're something or somebody. I mean, whatever. I'll just flatter myself out. I don't care. I wanted that to happen anyway. So I win and you don't. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go out into my the Salamence. I needed to get that thing's attack to be lowered, his Salamence. So I'm like, okay, I know he's probably going to go into a Swampert because, I mean, it's Swampert. Swampert does that kind of thing, like walling me to no end. And so now it's like, okay, I know I need to take out this Swampert, or I know I need to get him to a low enough part of health where I don't need to worry about setting up with the Salamence, so I can go ahead and sweep his team, right? So I'm like, okay, how the hell am I gonna do that? That's gonna be really impossible to do when this thing is so bulky. It's like, god shit, like, you know, why? So now he's gonna go for a War, but he needs me to go for a Recover or some kind of move, whatever he was predicting. And now that my Blaziken's in here, I'm like, okay, I need to do some serious predicting right now, because if I don't predict the right way, then shit's about to go down. So I'm gonna go for a Fire Blast, predicting him to go out into a Celebi. I should not have done that. I should have just went for the stupid HP Grass, but then I go ahead and just go for the Fire Blast. I don't know why I did that, but I don't go for the HP Grass. This Swampert is like a billion health, and I basically just lost my Blaziken because I don't have a way to get rid of those Spikes damage, and it is at a point where once it switches into Spikes once more, it's definitely going to get KO'd. So I'm like, okay, this is a situation where I need to be extremely careful. So I need to make it so that I can get a safe switch out into my Swampert. So in order for me to do that, I go ahead and go into my Blue Mix and I let it die to the Spikes. And I'm like, now I can bring in my Swampert, I'm sorry, my what's this thing called? My Salamence safely. So he's gonna go out into his own Salamence. I'm like, okay, this is kind of a problem. So I'm gonna go for an HP Flying, first of all. And then second of all, this is where it gets a little bit serious, because I need to predict the right way, and if I don't, then I lose. So I'm gonna go ahead and go for another HP Flying. It does a lot of damage. I mean, not even a lot, but it does enough to the point where I think I can almost take it out with a Psychic from Joan Rivers. So Joan is gonna go ahead and go for a Psychic after this turn, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, because I need that thing to be like dead, like now, because if I don't, it's about to be GG. He lives with like 1 ass health. I'm like, okay, that's whatever. I don't even know. Why would you do that? I mean, why would you live? That's not even fair. So I'm predicting this thing to not even switch out. I'm not going to deal with all that crap, so I was just going to go for an HP Flying. But then he goes on to his Salamence because he just really wants to live. Okay, so if I go for a Dragon Dance, I can outspeed, KO, and I can win because the Salamence is almost dead and the Swampert is almost dead too. He goes for a Rock Slide because he's faster, and look at this. He gets the damn flinch. I am so serious right now. Out of everything in this game that I have ever played, through my years of playing this game, the fact that he lived that HP flying just now after the Toxic, and the fact that he got the flinch off, and the fact that my Celebi went for the Psychic and did not KO, and on each instances of him being alive, he lived with like 1 HP, that is absolutely infuriating. To the point where it's just like, okay, I know this game is about math, I know it's about chance, and I know things happen off the wall, and I know hacks is a thing. But there's a point where it's just like, what the actual hell is this? I mean, when you the thing about this, which got me so irritated, is the fact that this is Noitulover. I've been playing this for about 7 to 8 years now, and ever since the beginning, he's been around, right? I used to never be able to beat him, and he was always better than me, right? And then it got to a point where it was just like, okay, I beat him a couple of times, so I was at his skill level, but I never actually wanted to be better than him. So my goal is now, when I battle him, is to be just as good and not get back to being worse. And then when things like that happen, it's not like, oh yeah, you lost at one time, but it was just because of a flinch, so it doesn't matter. It counts as a loss. A loss is a loss. So it's so irritating, the fact that something so stupid happened. Ooh, like, ooh, that it just really just made me want to just, oh my god. Rocks. Throwing rocks at someone causes someone to lose the entire game. I don't get that. That's ridiculous. But anyway, that is the game. GG, Noitulover. That was so close. And I swear I'm gonna give my thing inner focus. I don't even know. Ooh. But anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy that battle. That was against Noitulover, really good battler, one of my really good friends in 3rd generation. I'm sorry for not uploading 3rd gen for such a long period of time, but just things were going on, and I was thinking like, okay, I really need to expand my channel because 3rd gen is just okay, and you know, not everyone likes to see it all the time. And I'm kind of getting passed up by other people who are doing other things, so I'm like, okay, let's try to do something else. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please be sure to answer that question in the comments below. If you guys need me, I'll be on Showdown. You can add me on Skype or tweet me on Twitter or go on Facebook like, I don't know, grandmas do, but still, I'll be around. So this has been AceStarThe3rd and Mordecai, who has actually been asleep next to me the entire time. And both of us are going to tell you, have a wonderful day and goodbye.